Hey, what's going on? It's Inventor here, with my Incinerate Sorcerer in Diablo 4 Season 9. I just cleared Pit 55 to unlock Torment 4, so I wanted to share my build with you in case anyone was struggling to reach the endgame with the Incinerate Sorcerer. In this build guide, I'm going to cover my character, abilities, progression, and other relevant information. So first, I'll talk about my gear. Gear. For my tempers, I wanted to have chance for Incinerate to deal double damage for my weapon, fire damage for offensive, total armor for defensive, Incinerate size for utility, teleport cooldown reduction for mobility, and inferno cooldown reduction for resource. For my affixes, I wanted my gear to have intelligence and max life, with the last affix being either damage, ranks to incinerate, armor, or resistances. Intelligence and ranks to incinerate give me damage, while max life, armor, and resistances help keep me alive. Ideally, I wanted greater affix rolls on intelligence or ranks to incinerate first, or max life otherwise. Also, all of my gear had at least rank 4 masterworking. For my weapon, I had Flamethrower's aspect on an Ancestral Staff. Easily the most important aspect on this entire build, this converts my Incinerate from just 1 beam into 3 beams, and adjusts the damage. On a 2-hander, the aspect's value is doubled, so in this case I'm getting almost double the damage from just 1 beam. But wait, there's more. Each of these beams do damage independently from each other. So, if I'm standing in front of a monster while channeling Incinerate, they take damage from all 3 beams. So in total, my Incinerate does 180% damage from the roll on this aspect, and then I multiply that by 3 beams, meaning that this aspect on a 2-hander is potentially giving me up to 180 times 3, that makes 540% damage, which is downright insane. On my helm, I have Godslayer Crown for more potential damage from the unique effect. My chest armor is Raiment of the Infinite for ranks of Glass Cannon, which gives me more damage. My gloves have Engulfing Flames aspect. I also got ranks of core skills on this for Incinerate. My pants, I have Juggernaut's aspect to get more armor, as well as GA resistance to all elements. If you have enough armor, then the unique pants Tybalt's Will is a possibility too for more damage. On my boots, I'm running Tenuous Agility aspect with some armor on it. Bounding Conduit aspect would have been better to reduce Teleport's cooldown, but I didn't find it as a drop on this run. My preferred boots here would actually be Flicker Step to constantly reset Inferno's cooldown, but I found it very clunky to use since my cooldown reduction wasn't high enough. My amulet is Conflagration aspect with GA Icy Touch, along with some intelligence and max life. I wanted to roll off max life for ranks of Glass Cannon or something, but I didn't have enough gold, so this was the best I had. My first ring was Overheating aspect with Shadow Resistance affix, and of course, ring number 2 is Tal Loop for cooldown reduction and to get a lot more damage from the unique effect. When it comes to sockets, Amethyst in my weapon for more damage over time, and Topaz in my pants for intelligence. For my runes, I used what I had, so in this case, I ran Pock Cry on my chest armor to get an extra source of pulling enemies in. As for my helm, I'll be honest, I actually forgot to socket my Godslayer Crown with something, but my old helm had Neo Lum, so I could generate more mana whenever I avoid taking health damage, such as when I have Barrier up. Other runes I could have used that I didn't have would be something like Lith Ohm, where Lith generates Offering as I stand still, while Ohm activates Warcry for more damage. Okay, lastly, my jewelry sockets. Here I use gems that maxed out my resistances, so that's not very interesting. But this season, there's these Herodric jewels that give armor, resistances, and very powerful unique effects. I don't know how difficult these will be to obtain when Season 9 goes live, so I chose not to use them for this run, but the ones I would recommend here are Idol from Below for Intelligence and Life, Scornful Light for a 20% multiplicative damage boost, and, most important of all, Tyrant Bane, so your damage can scale infinitely. When it comes to elixirs and incense, as usual, my goal is to both have a good amount of life, as well as to reach the armor and resistances cap. So, for my elixirs and incense, I use life, all stats, armor, and resistances. Herodric powers. My catalyst was Cosmic Anomaly at rank 10, attached to the skill Flame Shield. For my infusion, I had Glacial Nimbus to apply cold damage for my Elementalist glyph, and Chill for the Hoarfrost passive. You might think the Fire infusion might be better for more damage, but fire damage is already my highest damage type, so it's actually redundant to run the fire infusion in this case. Anyway, for my Arcanas, I had Fractured Core for anti-DR aura, Sapping Crux to apply Vulnerable, and Siphoning Gizmo so that my anomalies could detonate my damage over time effects and give me more damage. Other options for Arcana would be Fortify to become tankier, and Execute to help kill monsters. Cosmic Anomaly spawns these anomalies that follow me around, and they shoot bolts at enemies as a passive effect, which trigger the Arcanas I just mentioned. On top of that, at rank 10, I'm also unstoppable while I have 5 anomalies active, meaning that monsters can't just knock me out of channeling Incinerate with CC effects. There's also an active effect where the anomalies will go in and detonate when I use the attached skill, but the damage doesn't seem very good, and I find the Unstoppable to be far more valuable. Skills. Now, I'm not going to cover every individual passive on the skill tree, but what you need to know is that the key passive I used is known as Combustion. The effect of Combustion is pretty straightforward. This gives multiplicative damage based on burning damage and damage to burning targets bonuses, but as of this season, the cap is at 100%. On my skill bar, I had Teleport, Inferno, Frost Nova, Ice Armor, Incinerate, and Flame Shield. The playstyle of this build, whether it be against mobs or against bosses, is pretty simple. Use Teleport to reposition beside enemies and to trigger Tal Loop and Elementalist's additional bonuses with its lightning damage. Inferno to round up monsters and gain a 50% damage boost. Frost Nova to apply freeze and vulnerable. Ice Armor for barrier and to get extra damage against frozen enemies. And then channel Incinerate as the main damage dealer. My last skill, Flame Shield, has a cosmic anomaly attached to it, so I typically only use it as a last resort in case I'm in danger of dying. But otherwise, having Unstoppable is so useful since it prevents monsters from interrupting Incinerate with crowd control. As for enchantments, I run Fireball and Firebolt. Fireball helps give a bit of extra AoE damage, and Firebolt heals me. And since both are tagged as fire skills, I get a 60% damage boost from Enchantment Master 2. Paragon. When I started Pit 55, I was Paragon level 134 with 162 Paragon points spent. I had all 5 boards with 3 active glyphs. So here I have starting board with Pyromaniac glyph, Burning Instinct board with Elementalist glyph, Enchantment Master without a glyph, Fundamental Release without a glyph, and Icefall with Eliminator glyph. If I had gone further in this character's development, I would have picked up Flame Feeder and then Torch. I had Pyromaniac at rank 46 for its legendary bonus. Eliminator and Elementalist were past rank 15 for a radius boost and had their additional bonuses active. Mercenaries. My hired mercenary is Subo because Seeker perk gives map hack, and I get a 30% multiplicative damage boost from Scorched Earth. I also did have access to a bit of extra lucky hit chance from Ambusher as well. For my reinforcement, I had Aldkin with Haunt, because I didn't level him up when I started Pit 55. But I would recommend using Field of Languish instead when injured for a slow and enemy damage reduction. Progression. Here I'll talk about my recommended leveling strategy for this season. As I went from level 1 to Torment 4, I kept crafting Nightmare Sigils with whatever sigil powder I had. Right now, Nightmare Sigils with the affix Forgotten Wisdom are the fastest method of solo leveling in the game by far. Each one gives like 5 or more levels per run and only takes a few minutes to clear, so I use these to get from level 50 to 60 pretty quickly. Other Nightmare Sigils can be really helpful too. Treasure Goblins and Herodic Materials, for example, are great, but I only use them when I reach Torment. From level 1 to 60, the TLDR here is to start on normal, prioritize the seasonal quest line, get the necessary aspects for the build, but otherwise just run random events in Helltides to farm sigil powder for Forgotten Wisdom sigils. Then you can throw in strongholds and renown rewards in the mix too. To give the long version, I started on normal difficulty since monsters in higher difficulties take too long to kill. I unlocked key aspects first from level 1 to 10, so in this case, I picked up Conflagration and Inner Calm from dungeons. On the live season, I would do the seasonal quest line as the quests become available here, but if the quests aren't available, then I would just keep doing Helltides on normal difficulty from level 10 onward, while turning in Cinders on Penitent difficulty. In the Helltides, I prioritized hitting as many random events as possible because these give a pretty good amount of sigil powder as a reward. After each Helltide, I crafted as many Nightmare Sigils as I could to find the Forgotten Wisdom ones. Then, once I had 1 or 2 such sigils, I would run strongholds until I reached level 50 or so, use said sigils, and then turn in my renown rewards to reach level 60. Gearing up with 750 item power equipment, I went and hit Pit 10 to unlock Torment 1. Now we can discuss getting from Torment 1 to 4. Remember to turn in your reward caches from Season Journey, Reputation, and Mercenary Report as you get them. In Torment 1, again, I did things a bit differently, but here's what I would recommend now. First off, complete any pending quests if you haven't already. So in this case, it would be the Seasonal Quest Line, Infernal Hordes, and Kurast Undercity. Then, spam Whispers until you get Tempering Recipes for the affixes I talked about earlier. Whisper collections also give you Malignant Hearts, which are needed to fight Varshan for Raiment and Talloop. By the time you finish farming all the Tempering Recipes, you should have enough Paragon points for like 2 legendary Paragon nodes, which should be enough for Torment 2. During my run, I spent most of my time farming in Torment 2 since killing monsters in Torment 3 was way too slow in comparison. In Torment 2, I used a lot of Nightmare Sigils. I wasn't able to find any with Treasure Goblins, but I popped Forgotten Wisdom to gain like 10 Paragon levels per run, Herodic Materials to load up on herbs and mats, Equipment Delve for ancestral gear, Herodic Files and Strong Rooms to level up my powers, and Herodic Gold Reserve to get more gold. All Nightmare dungeons also gave Obdicite by default. So, I had more than enough materials for upgrading my gear up to rank 4 Masterworking or more. Aside from Nightmare dungeons, I also used my boss mats to farm for uniques I needed. So in this case, I ran Varshan for Raiment and Talloop, whereas I ran Duriel for Godslayer Crown, and the Flicker Step I ended up not using. If I needed retempering scrolls, I would have also done some Infernal Hordes. Lastly, if I was missing ancestral items in any slot, I gambled with Obols to get them. For Torment 3, as I mentioned before, it's too much trouble, so I just farmed Torment 2 until I was strong enough to hit Pit 55. Eventually, I did my Pit 55 clear and unlocked Torment 4 with the setup I talked about earlier in this video. So, that's my Incinerate Sorcerer. A build that got nerfed quite a bit from last season due to the key passive change, but can still hold its own pretty well when it comes to reaching Torment 4. I hope this helps. If you made it this far, then a like, comment, or subscribe is always appreciated. But otherwise, that's all from me. Thanks everyone for watching, and venture out.